Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rekt Capital and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video about the 200 exponential moving average. Can Bitcoin break past this key level of resistance to continue its uptrend to the mid 40s? Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future and let's dive right in. Recently, not too long ago, we saw a rejection from the 200 EMA, a long-term gauge of investor sentiment. We saw a rejection of 20% in just one day, which just showcases to you how strong this resistance was back then. But fast forward a few weeks and we're seeing a small rejection take place over the course of 2 days. So now we're seeing a 6% drawdown in only 2 days, or as much as 2 days, because here we saw a drawdown of 20% in just one day. So you're seeing how this resistance is changing. The sell side pressure in this resistance is definitely changing. And now it's going to be interesting to see how far Bitcoin will dip on this recent rejection to just confirm to us that this 200 EMA is weakening as a resistance. And the 200 EMA is a very important long-term gauge of investor sentiment. Whenever investors see Bitcoin's price action above the 200 EMA, they're bullish on Bitcoin. They're bullish on Bitcoin in the long term. But if they see Bitcoin be below the 200 EMA, they are long-term bearish on Bitcoin. And this is something really interesting to bear in mind, because in March 2020, we saw a breakdown from the 200 EMA. And that was the last time actually that Bitcoin broke down from the 200 EMA. Of course, this is the most recent time that we're under the 200 EMA. But in March 2020, that's the last time we saw that. And what's interesting about this period is when we finally bottomed after that crash below the 200 EMA, we saw Bitcoin consolidate for 6 days below the 200 EMA before breaking out into a new bull trend, essentially speaking. So now we're in this very key area where now we've also broken down from the 200 EMA, but we're also just below the 200 EMA, and we might be consolidating here for a few days. We might be seeing some pulling back, some relief rallying, but generally speaking, it's going to be really interesting to see what Bitcoin does over the course of the next week or so, the course of the next 4 days or so, really. Because right here in March 2020, we saw consolidation for 6 days. Here we're seeing consolidation for 2 days actually. But what's even more interesting about this period in March 2020 is that when Bitcoin broke down from the 200 EMA, it broke down by 55%, which is also quite interesting, because then we saw a 52-day period of recovery until we finally broke back above the 200 EMA. Here is an interesting picture, because we're under the 200 EMA once again, but we broke down 28%, and it took 28 days for Bitcoin to recover to the 200 EMA. So if we look at the March 2020 breakdown from the 200 EMA, you can see that the retracement was twice deeper than the retracement below upon breakdown from the 200 EMA right now. But not only was this retracement 2 times deeper, but also the recovery was almost 2 times longer than the recovery that we're seeing right now. Really interesting how we're seeing a factor of 2 in terms of the depth and also in the amount of days that it took for Bitcoin to recover to the 200 EMA. That's quite fascinating to me. So over the past few days, this is a chart I shared to Twitter where we're seeing a wedging structure, and we're probably going to see a breakout to follow this blue pathway. And rest assured, we got that perfectly. And in fact, this rejection was prompted by the fact that we're seeing this 200 exponential moving average figure as a resistance. And we've pulled back since then. So we're perfectly following this pathway. Perfectly following the pathway. And if we just zoom out to the weekly time frame, it all makes sense, because if we just focus on these 2 blue circles right over here, you'll notice that here we got a weekly close above the key level of 38,200. That's the red level. We got a weekly close above that level, and in the following week, we got a retest attempt of that level. So last week we got a weekly close of that level, and now we're probably going to see a retest of that key level once again on the weekly. And that's what's going to propel Bitcoin into a further uptrend. That successful retest of 38,200. And this is essentially what we're watching for on the daily. For Bitcoin to just turn this red area this 38k red area into support to just propel itself into continuation in the uptrend. That's the most important thing. So whether or not Bitcoin can break past the 200 EMA will largely depend on how well this support holds, because it's not just this demand area, this historical demand area, that's key to watch out for. This support test is actually a retest of this previous breakout pattern, this wedging structure. And as you guys know from a previous video, turning 39k into a support has never been a good idea. Turning 39k, it's always figured as a failed support or even just a resistance. Here as well, failed support 39k and resistance 39k, resistance 39k. The higher probability scenario here that will lead to a success for the Bitcoin uptrend is if Bitcoin is able to retest 38k as a new support, and doing so successfully would propel Bitcoin into upside continuation. And that's what we're looking for right now, because that's what Bitcoin needs to do to retest this wedging structure and this historical demand zone of 38k to follow through on the blue pathway towards further upside. So can Bitcoin break the 200 exponential moving average? We're at the moment seeing weakening compared to what we saw before, a 20% breakdown in just one day right over here, versus what we're seeing now, just 6%, just a 6% drawdown, right? This chart showcases that the best way. A strong rejection here in just one day, followed by a small rejection in 2 days. We're seeing weakening already right over here at this resistance. We just need to see support hold strong here as a technical retest of the structure. Having said that, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I'm Rekt Capital. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.